A remote farmhouse, a family of 6, and a killer who didn't just take their lives, but stayed to live among them. Was it a stranger hiding in the attic, as the maid once feared, or someone much closer to home? Over a century later, the mystery of Hinterkaifeck still refuses to rest. This story takes place in Germany. Within the Bavarian countryside lies the small village of Gruber, home to just 75 residents at the time. And just outside this quiet village stood a secluded farmstead, known as Hinterkaifeck. It was here that the events of this story unfolded. The Hinterkaifeck farm was built in the 1860s. It got its name from being located just behind the nearby hamlet of Kaifeck. For years, it was nothing more than an ordinary farmhouse, quiet and isolated, until one day it became the scene of one of Germany's most mysterious crimes. At the time of the murders, the farm was owned by Andreas Gruber. He was the head of the household, a strict and stubborn man in his early 60s, known around the village for being difficult and often unfriendly. Cecilia Gruber, Andreas's wife, 72 years old. She lived quietly on the farm, alongside her husband. Victoria Gabriel, their daughter, 35 years old, widowed after her husband's death in World War I. She lived on the farm with her parents and her 2 children. Cecilia Gabriel, Victoria's daughter, just 7 years old, a schoolgirl who often helped around the farm. Joseph, Victoria's young son, only 2 years old. His father was never fully confirmed, and his parentage was surrounded by rumors. And finally, Maria Baumgartner, a 44-year-old maid who had just started working at the farm. She arrived on the very same day the murders took place. Lorenz Schlittenbauer was an older neighbor of the Hinterkaifeck farm. He had known the Gruber family for years, and after their sudden silence, he was one of the first to step inside the farmhouse and uncover the horrifying scene. On April 4th, 1922, concern began to grow. No one had seen the Gruber family for days. The post had piled up, and little Cecilia had missed school. Neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer first sent his sons to look, but they couldn't get inside the farmhouse. Later, Lorenz returned with 2 other men. And strangely, although the house had been locked, Lorenz suddenly produced a key that no one knew he had. With it, he entered the home and led the way into the barn. There, they discovered the bodies of Andreas, Victoria, and young Cecilia, stacked and partially hidden under hay. Inside the house, the maid Maria lay dead in her room, and baby Joseph was found lifeless in his crib. The fact that Lorenz had a key and was the first to uncover the murders would forever tie his name to the case. Once Lorenz Schlittenbauer and the 2 men uncovered the bodies, word spread quickly through the village. The neighbors immediately notified the local police station in Weidhofen. Officers arrived at the farm later that same day, April 4th, 1922. But the small rural police force was not equipped to handle such a brutal mass murder. They quickly called in the Kriminalpolizei from Munich, about 40 miles away, to take over. The next day, investigators, detectives, and court officials arrived at the scene, along with a medical team from Munich University, who performed the autopsies right there in the barn. But the crime scene was badly mishandled. Villagers wandered through the house, and some even cooked meals in the kitchen. Crucial evidence was destroyed before it could ever be collected. Even worse, police never found the murder weapon. Despite scouring the farm, it remained missing. For years, it was a mystery how such a brutal killing could have been carried out without leaving the weapon behind. The murders are believed to have taken place on the night of March 31st, 1922, sometime between late evening and midnight. Each victim had been struck with a mattock, a heavy farm tool similar to a pickaxe. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, Victoria, and young Cecilia were all killed in the barn. What puzzled investigators was how the killer managed to lure each of them out there, one by one, at such a late hour, without alarming the others. Inside the farmhouse, the maid Maria was murdered in her room, and little Joseph was killed as he lay in his crib. Adding to the horror, evidence showed that 7-year-old Cecilia had not died instantly. She lived for hours after the attack, clumps of her own hair torn out in her final moments. There were several speculations. After police began their investigation, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbor who discovered the bodies, his behavior was odd. He had a key to the farmhouse, was the first to enter, and even moved bodies around before police arrived. Many villagers whispered he might have been involved, especially since he was rumored to have fathered baby Joseph. Police also considered vagabonds and thieves, perhaps traveling criminals or drifters, had attacked the family in a robbery gone wrong. But nothing significant was stolen, making this theory weak. Another possibility: former workers, disgruntled maids and farmhands who had quit the Gruber's service, were also questioned. Several had complained the farm felt haunted and that Andreas was difficult to work for, but this theory was unlikely. After all, who would murder an entire family, including innocent children, just because their boss was difficult? Deeper investigation would only raise more questions. After the neighbors discovered the bodies and the investigation began, a few unsettling details emerged. Smoke from the chimney was seen rising from the farmhouse in the days after the murders. It implied someone had stayed behind. The animals were fed, the dog was cared for, and nothing of value had been stolen, which ruled out robbery as the motive. Investigators came to believe the killer had remained on the farm for days, living there, using the kitchen, tending to chores as if they belonged. On April 1st, 2 days after the murders, coffee vendors Hans and Edward Shirovsky stopped by to take an order at Hinterkaifeck.
Hello.
No one answered the door or the window, and although the gate to the machine house was open, they left without further investigation. The next day, local mechanic Albert Höfner arrived to repair a piece of machinery. He found no people, only farm sounds and the dog. After waiting an hour and hearing nothing, he proceeded with the repair and stayed for over 4 hours. These visits only emphasized just how bizarre the situation was. People were walking right up to the farm, hearing nothing, yet no alarm was raised until April 4th. The killer had truly been given free rein over the place, blending into routines that would have seemed normal. Over the years, investigators chased many leads, but none ever led to a conviction. Theories about who could have committed the murders have haunted the case for over a century. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbor who found the bodies, was also one of the prime suspects. He had a key no one knew about. He entered the farmhouse without hesitation, and even moved bodies before police arrived. Rumors claimed he was the real father of little Joseph, which gave him a possible motive. Some villagers swore he acted far too calmly at the crime scene. When the farm was demolished in 1923, A bloodied mattock was discovered, hidden in the attic. It was believed to be the murder weapon that had escaped police the year before. Yet even with this discovery, no one was ever charged. Over a century later, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of Germany's most infamous unsolved crimes. A family slaughtered, a killer who may have lived among them, and questions that will likely never be answered. To this day, no one knows who walked into Hinterkaifeck that night, or why they never walked back out. Was it a stranger passing through, or someone the family already knew? We may never know.